to watch for the moves. They're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making Orca fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. Orcas all say, don't come for me. Mid-merge boots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk Orca game. Orca King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show. They're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the Orca Pod, the Apex Predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. Here we are coming to you for episode 10 of this season of Sydney Survivor Season 2, Battle of the Introverts and the Extroverts going at it. And did they go at it this week? We'll be talking about all of that activity later this evening. We'll also catch up with at least one of the boots, maybe two. A lot of discussion also about this twist and its impact on the game. But I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. For those in Melbourne, don't forget the Orca drinks will be coming up on the 1st of August. The People's Champion, well, in that case, it was the Orcas champions, because I gave the people a little bit of a leg up. We're able to get to the top 5, and the drinks will be on me, 1st of August. But we have to see if a Sydney survivor, the People's Champion, Tyrone, can cause the drinks to come from me to the people of Sydney. That is yet to come. I'm sure we'll cover all of that in the coverage tonight about what is going to happen in the episode next week. But without further ado, I have only one Orca with me this evening. The other Orcas were sadly unavailable, but frankly, this was the most important Orca of all. We all love her fantastic takes. We all love her replacement episode titles, and we all love getting her feisty takes on episodes. And I've already got a little warm up that she feels that this game maybe had too many twists. So strap in, production. There may be some game mechanic criticism coming your way from the undeniable Loz. Let's give her a drum roll. Welcome, Loz.
Hi! It is just me, but thank you. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only Orca we need, but it's the only Orca you've got. So... And
every Orca adds their own little special bit of...
And I remembered that I now have my extroverts buff.
Oh.
I wanted the whole set, but there were none left. So I have my extroverts buff. So I kind of like it. It's where I would have been. So
how is it that the extroverts buff is the only one available for purchase? That's crazy.
Oh, Mac, that hurts me. That hurts me. It's positive feedback is what it is. I don't call it criticism.
Constructive criticism, I believe, is the term they're looking for. And you have some constructive criticism on, you want to do a bit of a broader take on the game. This is what you jumped into before the show on, that perhaps this game has had too many advantages impacting the outcome of strategy and votes.
Yes. And we know that I am not an idle advantage queen. I like the more authentic side of Survivor.
What did you wear a whole day, for the whole 2 days into your Canberra Survivor experience? What was written on your shirt?
Old school Survivor.
Old school Survivor. That's what love is all about. Old school Survivor. That's what she's about.
Look, and I just think that there is the social aspect of the game was what the game was designed to be. It was about how socially you can outplay and outlast people. And I understand that the game has changed and new era has brought in a shorter game and this desire for more advantages and twists. But I do think that it comes at a cost. I think the cost is we lose the impact of the social game, we lose the impact of relationships, and we lose the impact of people wanting to be loyal. And I think we have lost that in this season, because with the twists and the advantages, nobody really worked to build and still hasn't worked to build any particular relationship that means anything, because they're expecting another twist, or they're expecting another idle play, or they're expecting another advantage to mix things up. And while it can be entertaining, and I'm not saying it's not entertaining to watch, I'm sad that we haven't seen any real alliances built, any real relationships to the end, any, future promises made. And that makes me a little bit sad.
Do you think there haven't been relationships built though? Like well, that's a good point by Mac, and we'll talk to that. But do you think there have been relationships, like Shane and Mac have a relationship? Oscar, Chris, Tilly, they have an alliance. They have a relationship.
Really? Really? Did they? Really?
You don't think?
And I mean, Shane was very, very, happy to jump on the Mac vote. And I think without the idol, that had absolutely been on the cards. And I mean, a pagonging can be fixed by production. And we had this conversation many, many, many weeks ago, where if it comes to it that a tribe is purely dominating another tribe, which is what happened, my argument then is, well, mix it up. So we can avoid the pagonging without the twists and advantages, and you can still make it look organic and real. I mean, clearly Tilly didn't have necessarily the numbers. Joe, I would have thought, but again, the twists and advantages have kind of taken over those relationships. It's just my opinion.
If I was on the introverts, I would be a little bit frustrated. This goes two ways. I'd be a little bit frustrated that somehow every single freaking tribal council we go to,
every single one,
Shane and Mac pull out an assortment of advantages. However,
correct.
Those advantages are there for everybody to find.
And yet no one else is finding them.
Well, Mac gets into himself a bit here about how no one's working as hard as he is, and we do enjoy the Mac Orca content. He really went to a new level in this episode. But he's right. Like, why? To be honest, I've never been particularly great at finding things in LRGs, because I prefer to spend my time trying to control the strategy. Mac himself says in the episode his social game is shit. Because he
says it, yeah. And I mean, I'm the same as you, CK. Like, I spend my game on the social strategy side. There was a clue on a tree this far away from my head, and I wasn't looking because I was too focused on the person I was talking to at the time, which was Eden, to even look, to even think. And maybe it's bitterness because I don't know how to play that game with the idols and advantages. But I think we are losing a lot of that social side of it. And I think this vote tonight just showed how chaotic it is. Nobody has a plan. No one has a ride or die, or someone that they're desperate to get to the end with, or, an absolute target who they're trying to get out for a specific reason. It's just chaos. And maybe now that we're down to 6, and I think the preview for next episode indicates that maybe people are finally saying, okay, who do I want to sit next to? But I think 6 is way too late.
I don't think you're wrong. However, you have to expect that in an episode where 2 people are going to go home, that it is going to become every person for themselves. And I think that's what's happened here. You would just be concerned that you're going to cop the second most amount of votes, and it'd be very hard to strategize around. The strategy was almost very effective. Max making the point, just going to our earlier comment, that because he's on the bottom, they had to search. The introverts weren't open. We're lucky their alliance management was poor. and Tyrone and Joe wanted to jump off. So I get that. I get that's why Shane and Mac have been the ones that have been able to find the items more than anyone else. I guess that makes a lot of sense. My view is just that in this episode, I liked the production twist. I like this actual double vote thing. Look, preferably you wouldn't have these double vote scenarios, but you've got to get down the numbers on these LRG days, and you've got to have these
when you're hours and hours behind schedule, and you have to be done by
So
yeah.
And I think it strategically made it interesting. But I do agree that perhaps there are a few too many idols in this game. There have been a lot of idols.
Lots. I've lost track of how many. I truly have.
Well,
the sheer number that between Shane, Beck, and Mac that were
Mac
played.
Has played 3. Mac has played 3. Beck played 2. Shane has played 1 actual idol. He's played 2 things that weren't idols, but he also played a blocker vote. And he had an expired idol with Joe, which we on this podcast criticize production for not keeping in the game for the narrative enjoyment. But, in retrospect, maybe it was a good idea. They
oh my God. And I mean, to throw another one into the mix. I don't know. I just, the introverts are not good. And Mac's right. There's no alliance management there because they're never thinking ahead. It's this chaos and paranoia every single vote that, oh God, we have to vote again. Oh no, the person that was going to be the easy vote is no longer the easy vote. And then throw into the mix the idols and the twists. Where are the lines in the sand? Who would potentially want to take someone to the end? Who really is close to somebody else? I'm really not too sure. We always expected the introverts to be chaotic, and they have been. And as soon as the easy vote is not available, there's crazy panic. And absolutely, Mac and Shane have totally taken advantage of that. Absolutely, they have, and I completely credit them for it.
We got some comments just again on the idol thing. Max just clarifying that there was 1 and 1 and 1, and then they got re-hidden. Eli makes the point that the rule of idols is they're hidden after one's played. We did that. Mel hides it really well. Maybe the edit doesn't show they were hard to find. Look, again, as we said before, Eli, it's your game. You can make whatever rules you like. You don't have to follow the rules of American Survivor, Australian Survivor. They don't follow themselves. They do different rules in each different franchise. But I probably lean more idols is better. Like, I've enjoyed this narrative. I think it's hard for the introverts. I think it's been hard for someone like Tilly, who's been playing at a really strong power position and being in a great spot, but then having, so many things come into her game that she's had to deal with. But I also feel like, and I can't say for sure, it's just purely on the read of the edit, is Tilly has struck me, and we can talk to this, as someone who's done a poor job of maintaining her relationship with the people at the bottom of her lines. She's done a poor job at making the bottom people feel like they're not the bottom people. And obviously, this was particularly made clear by the fact that she voted for Tyrone in the last vote, which is actually a bit, and Tim also voted for Tyrone before flipping, Chris also voted for Tyrone before flipping to vote for Tim on the revote. I just don't understand why either Chris or Tilly were thinking about voting for Tyrone when Tim was on the table, who they had no relationship with, they had no perceptive alliance with, they've never voted with them. They might say there's a lack of trust with Tyrone, or they're unsure about Tyrone. And I do think that Tyrone was certainly playing a game where he was looking at dabbling and having an option with the extroverts. But it's just, he was also sort of with them, and way more with them than Tim ever was. Chris says in this episode he never trusted Tim. I think that was fair. Tim was always sort of on the outs for them. Why would these two put votes on Tyrone in that prior vote? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Again, it comes back, I think, where I just don't think there was strong line in the sand alliances. I never saw them. I know you say that Tyrone was at the bottom of their alliance, but I never saw it as an alliance. And
all right, Tyrone's asking Mac, why does Mac have any idea why they did this to Tyrone?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't, I feel like there weren't clear lines in the sand drawn, and the introverts were constantly hanging out, expecting that they were always going to be able to take out somebody who wasn't an introvert. Even this episode, Beck says, well, yeah, I think as long as we just stick with the introverts. We're so far past that point, the introverts thing is dead. You can't just keep a group of people who have nothing else in common being a starting tribe together. You have to pick a side, and I never saw them actually commit to picking a side, and they were so ready and quick to flip on Tyrone and Tim last vote, when I still think that we talked about it, I still think that there were other options. But you have to have future planning. You have to have a plan A and a plan B and a backup plan. And I don't know that they've got that. And so when a little bit of pressure comes on, it's panic mode, and it's, there's phantom votes. Well, we'll just vote them out. And then we'll take them out next time, because we voted for them last time, so they can't possibly work with us again, so we'll just take them out. So I just think that that's why you've got to have that kind of rolling gameplay where you know what you want to do next vote, but you also know what you want to do if it doesn't work out that way, and if something else gets played and there's a twist, and I haven't seen it. And I look, you know what? Each to their own. Okay, I'm not hosting an LRG. I think it's great, Eli. You love idols. That's cool. I hate idols. Idols are always going to be my downfall because I suck at them, which is why I don't like them.
I want to say that I don't think it's fair to cast all the introverts, in my view, with the net that you're casting. I think Chris in particular is playing a very strong game of, other than the fact that everyone voted him to be the GOAT in the touchy subjects, which is not over
it's
Oscar.
Not ideal.
Over Oscar? That's insane.
But I mean, we talked about this. It's great if you are viewed as the GOAT, as long as you're going to be able to pull something out at the end to say why you weren't. And I don't know that Chris is going to be able to articulate clearly why he, what moves he made that were critical to the game that paint him other than a GOAT. I agree. I think he's playing a very subtle game, but I think it's almost too subtle.
He needs Tilly to now stump for him on the jury and talk about all the sort of things they did together. And he probably needs to be against Oscar, if we're being frank, to win.
Yeah, and it's just a little, it's shaky. I don't know how he's going to clearly articulate, because there's been a lot of flip-flopping with Chris as well. He flip-flopped last vote, and it was quite flip-floppy this vote as well. I don't think he really committed until the last minute. And you have to at least be able to say at, final tribal council, yes, I was gunning for this person. These were the reasons why, and I stuck with it and I did it. Whereas Chris is going to go, well, when the mood changed in the tribe, when I thought the vote was going a different way, I just went with that. And I don't know that that'll be a strong enough argument to win. Maybe against Oscar. You're right.
Can we talk about the vote here? And I am perplexed that Mac only received one vote. Did the information about this idol leak out more than we saw in the episode? As far as we knew, Shane knew, and they let Joe know. Now, perhaps Joe spreaded it around. Because the fact that Mac, after all of this, Mac's got to get votes. And I think most of the introverts could get on board that Mac needed to go here if they could make that happen. They must have all known about this idol, for him only to get one vote.
They must have. I agree. It doesn't make any sense.
which is also why
I mean,
think
unless they were just so scared that he might have an idol, and it was again back to this introvert, as long as it's not me mentality, that their backup plan truly was, well, let's just split the votes on two people that we probably will want to get rid of anyway, and if he does or doesn't play, well, okay, so maybe everyone did know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a case of, as long as it's not me, Mac will probably pull something out of his pocket. There's been a rumor. We'll want to take out Beck or Joe or Tilly at some point. Let's just send the votes on them now, just in case.
I was, and I guess this makes sense why. Let's assume everyone knew about the idol. It explains a few behaviors. Firstly, I didn't like Mac. No, I'm actually in two minds on this. I'll get your opinion as an Orca, Loz. Mac decided to, midway through the tribal council, actually the part where people are voting and some are up at the voting booth and some are still at tribal council, to then take out the idol, put it around his neck as a bit of like, and then got a strong reaction from the jury, but not from the rest of the cast. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit Orca, but isn't it more Orca to get up and play it in the tribal council? I think maybe only when it's a secret. So I think it was the more Orca move where people knew to do it the way he did. Hang on, but Max got a comment. Yeah. He says, I don't think it was leaked. He thought it was 4-4. We tried to split our votes and play the idol and get the vote block back until Shane plays it on Oscar or Chris. That plan comes off. Yeah, I want to talk about that one in a moment. Do that. So what do you think? Was it more awkward to put it on where he did, or would it have been more awkward to play it as a reveal after the votes?
I'm not. Yeah, look, either. He said he thought he didn't need it. So
he didn't need it.
And he didn't need it. And it's hard to imagine how you could be that confident, given the numbers, unless you had a pretty good idea that enough people knew that you had it.
Just put this in. I hear you, Mac, but it wasn't the TV moment I was looking for.
I think it just didn't hit with the, and no one in the game seemed, no one went, oh my God, fuck, well, oh no, like there was none of that.
He did get a great reaction out of Bella.
Bella, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, because the jury don't know what's going on.
He's already got Bella's vote.
Thank God that Bella has those reactions, because otherwise I was looking around going, no one else seems to be all that bothered. So it's kind of lost its impact.
I don't think he needs to pander to Bella. I think he's got her vote if he makes.
I think he's got her vote. I think you're locked in. I think you're good, Mac.
Well, he talked about then the alternate strategy about Shane using the vote block on Tilly. All the discussion at Tribal was that Shane would not use it on Tilly because they had it pretty understood that Tilly was voting for Mac, which I think was a reasonable assumption and aligned with the information they had and aligned with Mac's relationship with Tilly. Why, in that scenario, did he then use it on Tilly when, as Mac said before, if he played it on Oscar or Chris, they could have got out Beck and Tilly and saved Joe?
Again, I don't understand the logic. I just think it's too much reliance on being safe with advantage or an idol and not enough thinking long term. And so much whispering and strategizing at tribal council as well, where even if you come in with a plan, I could see how easily it'd get dissolved with all of the the strategizing at tribal. Weird choice to not protect Joe when they were both so certain that they were both safe, and you had a plan, you had someone on your side who'd backed you a couple of times now. Why you wouldn't do any, when you weren't at risk, why you wouldn't try to save them? And I mean, Beck's such a huge threat. She just keeps you know, every vote she just skates through it again and again. And her resume compared to just about anybody else in the game is, I think she's probably got the best resume, actually. Weird decision. And maybe Shane will have to explain that one to us.
I think that Mac could possibly Beck, but she'll probably have the introvert favored element too. So I think that will make it difficult. But I agree, she's probably one of the most, if not, is the most dangerous. I agree with that. If we look at throw that up, yeah. If I was tossing up between playing it for me or Shane. No, I'm not talking about your idol, Mac. I don't know if that's what.
No. The vote block.
The vote block decision that could have really changed the outcome, because Mac was voting for Tilly was voting for you, Mac, and the vote block discussion that we saw was that Shane was not going to use it on Tilly, use it on someone else, a Chris or an Oscar. Oscar's probably the most logical, because Chris had communicated to Mac that he might have been doing other things. I think you'd be foolish to believe that, and I don't think Mac fully trusted it. He said that very much in the show. Maybe I've got Chris, but I don't know. It's shaky. Mm-hmm. Oscar, I think you could trust that Oscar is at heart a very old school survivor, loyal to his people, and his people are Tilly and Chris, and I guess Beck, because that he voted with her pre-merge on the last round. That I don't think that Oscar would vote anywhere else. So that is,
Oscar's a stick to the plan kind of guy, unless he gets confused and forgets what he's supposed to do. Yeah. But he's a Keith Nail, stick to the plan. Yeah. And I agree. I think he is the.
Yeah, Mac doesn't know why Shane.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been my safest pick. If I was going to pick someone, Chris will change his vote. I don't know that I would rely on anything Chris said. Oscar, if he said he was going to do it, I would of everyone there, I'd trust it. And I would have put the vote blocker on him. That's a vote that you get back. Suddenly Joe's got one less, and we've got Tilly and Beck on.
Yeah. That seems like the strategy.
Yeah.
Now, I do need to talk about Shane, though, in this episode. How is no one targeting Shane? Like, why is Shane not a concern? I guess that I appreciate Mac's names up in bright lights. I'm the Orca. You got to vote me out. I'm the king. I'm the cockroach. Ring a ding ding. Blah blah blah. I know he doesn't talk like that in the game. He does that in confessionals. But I'm sure he's also done that a bit in the game. Shane is an incredibly strong player. Really subtle. Really smart. Has built great social bonds with everyone that he's walked into. Tilly is willing to entertain things with Shane. Mac she won't even talk to. Shane has found a bunch of advantages. He's gone to a lot of tribal councils. I don't understand why Shane's name was not even in this conversation in a double vote situation.
So I'll take you back to last episode when they were doing touchy subjects, and who did they vote was on the wrong tribe?
Shane.
Which extrovert? Shane. Okay. So Shane feels like an introvert to the other introverts. Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
And the introverts are targeting anyone who's feeling not introverted enough, anyone who's really putting themselves out there, who's being that big player, that's giving non-introvert vibes. They're the ones that they're taking out, the bigger players. Shane worked out very, very, very quickly that if he disguised and camouflaged himself, I think, as an introvert, that he would be very safe. And I think that's exactly what's happening. He makes them all feel good. He makes them feel comfortable. He's got that little bit of authority where they kind of feel good that he'll have their back and is making good decisions, but he doesn't threaten them in their face the way Bella or Mac, or even Tim did. And I think that is, despite all the advantages, that is masterful social gameplay. Mm-hmm. And that'll get him all the way potentially to the end. And I think he will wipe the table with everyone, which is great because he's one of my picks.
I think he could tell a story about how he's an extrovert and an introvert, and he's walked the line between both places. And, He's got social game. He's got
And
strategic
it's legit.
game.
Everything he would say is totally legit. That is how he has played the game. It's been very. You say you think Chris is playing a subtle game, and maybe it is a subtle game. I think it's less subtle than perhaps a lot of luck with decisions at the time and votes that have played out because he's been in a majority. But I think Shane has played a social game that's been truly subtle, but with a lot of thought that's gone into it. And it's set him apart. And I think it's great. I think Beck and Shane are probably my two. If Beck can pull it back together, back on the train, back on the tracks.
If you had a Chris and Shane, and I think they've both played similar games. I think Shane's had to be a bit more dynamic because he's been to more tribal councils. But if you had both of them in a final tribal council, I think Shane is going to sell his story so much better.
So much better.
And it's not that Chris doesn't have a story to tell or that he can't speak to his experience or is a bad public speaker. But Chris speaks in a way that is somewhat
he downplays a lot of things
himself.
as well.
He downplays himself. He downplays someone like Mac who gets in there will be, I'm the best, I did all this, blah, blah, blah. And it's true. And people will know it's true, but it doesn't mean they have to like it, whereas Shane speaks with a real gravitas that's self-confident, but doesn't come across as overtly arrogant. And I'm not saying you're arrogant, Mac, but do you know what I mean? Like there's a confidence in Shane.
100%. It jumps out. He jumped out at me right from the start because I thought he could, adapt his personality to any situation. And I think part of that is, life experience, but I think a big part of it is just he's got a good read on people as to what they need from him. And a lot of people trust him. A lot of people who've got no business to trust him.
Tyrone says he's arrogant. Tyrone's saying he's arrogant.
I think Mac will own it. And like I said, Chris being painted as the GOAT, you have to be able to then argue the point at the end as to why you're not the GOAT. And I'm just not sure Chris is going to be able to do it. Whereas Shane, I think, will waltz in, speak eloquently, talk to his relationships that he built, talk to his relationship with Beck, how many tribals he went to, the advantages, the fact that his name never came up post-merge, all of those things, and they're all legit. And he'll tell it in such a way that I could see most of the jury swinging around and voting for him.
Yeah, he's got to be I think he should be a bigger target than Mac in this next episode.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We talk about this. Mac says Shane's instantly likable. He commands respect, speaks in a way where you just stop and listen, calm, considered, great player. I want to talk about, so I think on Shane, I want to talk about Shane's duplicity and with Chris again. Shane, you said, was ready to throw Mac under the bus. Obviously, you're referring to the conversation with Tilly, where Tilly's like, would you vote Mac? And he's like, yes, I would do that. I think he would do it, but I don't know if that was his plan. I think he's just very good at telling people what they want to hear. And I think all of these players are pretty good at it. Tyrone comes into the tribal council and says, I've been lying to a bunch of people today. They're going to find out in a minute which ones they were. Tilly's doing some lying. The only people that aren't really lying are, Oscar, who is quite upfront generally about who he is and what he's doing. I would like to say to Shane and to Oscar, there's a point to Oscar. So Oscar voted for Joe, and I thought this was a really funny, because it's the right read by Oscar, but somewhat for the wrong reasons. So Shane obviously got out at Tribal Council, the half idol. He gave it to Joe. Then Joe gave it back to him. And, that went back and forth during the Tribal Council. And Oscar at his voting booth votes for Joe and says, I'm still voting for you. I don't think that's real, or you're not playing it or whatever, because otherwise you wouldn't have flashed it. And that's good reasoning from Oscar, except that he hasn't watched The Survivor to appreciate what Shane and Joe were trying to do was a bit of hot potato with the idol. So you don't know which of Joe or Shane this idol might be played on if it was a real idol. So I think it's just a funny aspect of Oscar learning the game as he goes, making a good call about an idol bluff, but not appreciating there was actually perhaps a step above.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's almost like Oscar looks for a reason for his votes. You know, he's always got an idea in his mind as to who he is going to go, but it's almost like he's trying to find a reason that he thinks is going to satisfy, you know, production, so that it's not just a random vote. And some of the reasons have been a little out there, and this was one of those that was just it did go, you know, the play did go over his head, and you would expect it to when he's not, you know, a Survivor fan. And I think it's enough. And I mean, I think hopefully he'll look back in you know, in years to come and go, you know, actually the reasons I was voting were fine. I had a name in mind. I had people I was working with. I was sticking with that. It was all legit. That was good enough. But I do think that there's so much.
What was he doing, Loz? He was playing Old School Survivor.
Old School Survivor, yeah. And I'm so here for it. And I mean, he's one of mine as well. He's one of my drafts as well. I love watching them play out how I imagined them to play out when I first picked them. It makes me happy.
I actually think Oscar, as the game has gone on, right? I think the best part of Oscar's narrative is he started as this joker who doesn't take this seriously. Why do all you nerds take this shit so seriously? What are you idiots doing, flying from other cities to come to this thing, to play this game?
I'm going to vote you all out first because that's going to be the funniest thing ever.
Funny. That was his approach at the game. Now, he hasn't done that stuff.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
Because as the game has gone on, I actually think he's learned to enjoy and respect the game and sort of now understands why all these nerds are into it. Now, he doesn't have
absolutely.
He doesn't have the optimum.
You get invested in it. I mean, you can't imagine that you wouldn't. I mean, I'm a little bit sad because I loved his Orca energy, that take out the person who's the most into the game. It's just so just nasty and cruel. And but he is invested, and I'm sure he will, you know, maybe he won't. I'm sure he'll tell us that he didn't really care. I think he cares. And I think he's making decisions based on his desire to stay in the game and keep playing. And that speaks for itself. This game sucks you in. Anyone who says that it doesn't is lying, hasn't played it, hasn't properly watched it, hasn't experienced it.
If you have any sort of competitive bone in your body, once you're there, you want to win. And if you have any sort of enjoyment, fun bone in your body, you don't want to get voted out because you don't want the fun to end.
Getting voted exactly out right.
The fun is over. Yeah, you can go hang out with the people at Ponderosa and have a beer and whatever. And that's fine. That's good times, but that's not being in the game. You're not going to get to experience every bit of the game. And I think that's what anyone, whether you're a super fan or you're a fresh face to the whole concept of Survivor, you want to keep having the experience because it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now, I mean, they're so deep into the game. You know, to have two people taken out at final 8 and suddenly have be guaranteed final 6, that's just massive. I mean, it sucks so badly for the two taken out. And I was watching the girls, and, you know, we'll be able to talk to them, hopefully. I was watching the girls' final, you know, confessional, and, I didn't vote for you, but I was hoping people would. And my God, I was just, you know, getting taken out is so soul-destroying and crushing, and to miss out on final 6 by that much, that's a hard pill to swallow, honestly.
Was it also a hard pill for you to swallow, Loz, as Australian Survivor's preeminent feminist, yourself and Bethany from your incredible
That we're
moment.
down to one female.
But also, it only seemed in that moment that Tilly and Joe were like,
They finally went, oh shit, they're only taking out women. Do you think, girls? I mean, take your blinkers off. My goodness. Oh, yeah, I know. And I just thought, are they ever going to pick up on it? Is anyone ever going to notice that it's the girls who are being tugged? Nope. Oh, wow. They tugged at the girls.
oh,
Yes,
maybe we
they
should
did.
have worked together. Like, that seemed to be Tilly's thing. Like, maybe we should have worked together.
I just did the. Come on, ladies. I mean, we need to back ourselves better than that, truly.
Yeah.
And I can't see a situation where Beck is not an easy vote, like an easy target next vote. She was the
Except that
target this vote.
Shane should be the target, but yeah.
Shane absolutely should be the target, but they will be fixated on Beck and Mac and Tyrone again. Tyrone for no reason other than the phantom vote.
Yeah.
Beck for no reason other than she was one of the 3 girls they tried to take out and were unsuccessful. And Mac for no reason other than he's the extrovert. Like, guys, end game.
Let's talk about some of the other players. Tyrone, I want to give him some snaps for hacking the challenge and then just saying he hacked the challenge. That was great.
What was the water bucket?
I don't know. Like, why
I'm
did
so
they have to
confused. Why did we fill a bucket with water
and do nothing with it? Yeah,
and I don't understand with the cans either. Like, could you just pick up all of the cans, all 6 cans at once, and go back with them? What was the point of 2 separate locations?
It didn't seem like they were in different stations. This isn't the best challenge I've ever seen. But
my goodness, yeah.
It all seemed a bit poorly. Like, the concept was poorly put together. But I do, but I agree. Use the lake, but why not have to fill something up with the bucket? Like, you get the water.
What you have to do something with it. What's the point of just filling a bucket up?
Okay, how about this?
What if you put this much water in it? Were they going to say no? That wasn't enough water?
Okay, this is what I got, Loz. You need to get a can from somewhere, go to the water, fill up the can, pour it in your bucket. When the bucket has enough water, you can then place your cans and do the throwing.
Is that what happened?
No, that's what I've just come up with on the spot as a better challenge.
Yeah, so I don't understand. Like, I'm so confused.
You like my new
I couldn't
challenge
understand the bucket or the cans, and the knocking them over was okay, but it seemed kind of easy.
Yeah.
And Tyrone hacked it in about 0.2 of a second. So
no one else thought to hack it. And you could tell how disappointed Mac was. And when, like, Tyrone's like, I hacked it. I hacked it. And then it's like, and Mac's like, oh, what'd you do? He's like, oh, I just threw my ball at the bottom bit that was holding up the cans. And Mac's like, oh yeah, that's really smart. That's great.
I mean, I could have tried to hack it and thrown the ball at the base, and I would have missed because I have no hand-eye coordination, so it wouldn't have worked. So it only worked because Tyrone had enough hand-eye coordination to actually hit the base. Otherwise, it's not a hack. It wouldn't have been a hack for me.
I just love the Mac's attempt to congratulate Tyrone on this move. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, Mac's ego took a little hit.
It was not there. Okay. Yeah,
and I mean, it's not that big a deal, Mac. It's just the challenge didn't even make sense. Which bit were you sad about? The bucket, the cans? I don't know. I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
Yeah, so Mac in his confessions, this challenge was made for him because he's an alpha fit male. Tyrone's I'm a tennis player.
The running, the throwing, the whatever he said.
The water, the ball, they drink water in tennis. It was basically a tennis challenge. But I love that from Tyrone. I also loved Tyrone in this episode. It was a great moment for him to be able to really stand up and he got these votes in the last episode. He did need that immunity, and it was a great opportunity for have all these people that were supposed to be alive with him and turned on him.
Undeservedly. That was the thing. It would have been I feel like they would have taken Tyrone out this vote without the necklace for no reason other
Yep.
than they tried to take him out last vote. And that's this
I-
this weird mentality with the introverts where if you've got to pick a target and then stick with it, even if the target doesn't make any sense. And so I think I'm really glad that he won because that's a shitty reason to be taken out. Whether we agree or don't agree with the phantom votes last time, him being targeted last time is not a reason to target him this time. Like, make it make sense.
And I was particularly pleased. People, I used to pretend when we started the Orca drinks and the People's Champion concept that I didn't want them to win, that I didn't want to have to spend $1,000.
Come on, you know you do. That's not true. Everyone knows you do.
I know. I used to pretend that I didn't pretend.
Yeah,
anymore.
you didn't pretend very well though.
The first one I did, I pretended. I thought with the Eden. You don't think I pretended very well in the Eden one?
No,
No,
I really don't.
Okay, cool. But I do want it to happen. And so when Tyrone was going to be immune for 2 spots that he's guaranteed 6, I was like, baby, he's just got to make it one more. I'm not rooting for anyone. There's an Annabelle Easter egg on one of his outfits. Not the Pokemon one, presumably. You only been wearing Pokemon at shops the whole time. I don't think Annabelle's into Pokemon. I have to come back to you on that, Tyrone. Is it the lizard? Is it the lizard, Tyrone? Is that where we're going? Let me know if I'm right in the comments. Yeah, one more for Tyrone. We'll get into that let's get into that now because you might have to go before we do the guest. I don't think Tilly's going to be able to make it. I don't think we'll be able to get in touch with her. But if she's available next week, we'll definitely get her on at the start of the pod. But you might have to head off before we can get Joe in. So
I need to talk to Joe because Joe was one of my drafts.
All right. Well, we'll get her in very, very shortly. We'll just run through the other. Well, I got to do this one quickly because I didn't do it at the start of the show. So episode 10 of Sydney Survival 1 is actually the finale. And it's a pretty good finale, but I actually think this episode was better, to be honest. I just really enjoyed this episode, and finales can sometimes run long. You know, you got 2 boots and then the 3 people in their tribal council, and it's good, but even with Real Survivor, sometimes I'm like, this is going to be a slog. And so I love season 10 and season 1, episode 10, the finale. It's a good finale, but this episode was just. I think the twist worked here. They did this twist in season 1 and it didn't work because it was done pre-merge and you had both tribes coming together. They had been swapped. And look, to be fair, Maddie P hacked it brilliantly and got him and Ethan out. And then poor old Jazz and Merlene got the boot. But Christy also managed it extremely well. There was some really good gameplay in it, but I think it works better as a post-merge game mechanic, and I actually think this game mechanic really did shake it up and can make for an interesting final 6. What do you think? Do you want me to get Joe in and then we'll do the quick what do you think and the Brommy, or do you want to do it first? Because I know you have to head off.
No, let's get Joe in.
Joe, are you with us? I see you're backstage, but your screen is blank. I hope that you are ready for us. I don't get it, Tyrone. We're going to have to discuss this when you come on the show. We're bringing in a woman who's had an incredible journey on Sydney Survivor. She, I should run this. We're bringing in a woman who's had an incredible journey on Sydney Survivor. She's voted out in the first vote in a 4-4 tie. They then tie again. Chris is supposed to be actually on the side voting with her, but thinks he's voting for Amber. No, and the Tilly was talking about Amber. That's the joke. But the Amber thing, whatever. Chris voted wrong apparently, and she wasn't supposed to go. She then had to win one challenge. She had to win another challenge. She was there with Nat all day. Then she saw Nat get medevac. She then has to sleep on it, come back against two other very, very strong, capable players. Comes back into the game. And notwithstanding that most of the people that booted her are still there, she's not on their lips as an option. She doesn't seem to be a target. As this one came around, they're finally like, do we care about Jo? No, let's get rid of her. But for the most part, they were still with her. I think it's very hard to come back from the edge. And I know Jazz in the prior season, Sydney won, made it to the final three from the edge. But I do think any of these sort of edge redemptions, they always do them in backyard. It's very, on Valentina made it to the end too. Okay, so sometimes people make it to the end, but I think that it's very hard.
I think this game it was more difficult because there was very little reason or justification for taking Jo out in the first place. And we know that once there's a target, they'll stick with the target just because it's easy. And so it would have been very easy for her to come back in and the introverts to just go, oh, we took you out last time, we'll take you out again. So I think to overcome that was the kind of fork in the road. And I'm keen to hear what Jo has to say about it.
Let's bring her in. Had a hell of a journey and she's now here with us. Welcome, Jo. So,
hello, my draft pick.
Hello. How you going?
You've had a very unique Survivor journey. Look, there's across the LRG community, many people have gone to the edge and come back. But it's always a unique story for those people to spend the entire first day not with everyone else. How was that experience for you?
I think from the get-go, I was the last person to arrive at the introverts welcome table, and then didn't realize that the first challenge, I thought it was going to be, okay, introverts win, and then we start again. I didn't realize it was going to be one long continuous challenge. I spent most of the first day not with my tribe at all, so it was really hard to kind of, I didn't really know what I was going to be going back to because I missed so much time out of the whole day just, being somewhere else, doing something else. And I don't think I really got as much of a chance to bond with everyone because of that, and also probably painted a bit of a target, like, where is she? What is she doing? That's suspicious. So I think first day was tough.
Yeah.
When you were there, were you able to get information about why you were voted out? From Morgan, when she comes to the edge. Is she the only other introvert that came to the edge?
I think so, because we had Dayo and
Dayo. Yeah.
So was Morgan able? I know Morgan was the other vote, so maybe she wasn't so clued in. But was she able to give you much information about why you were voted out, or you didn't talk to that?
Not particularly. I think we were both kind of on the same level of. I think we were both feeling a bit on the outs and maybe not so sure of what was going to happen. We were both kind of surprised. And then we got to the edge and it was sort of, didn't really have that much of a connection with her because I was there and then I left. So it wasn't really, I didn't really have that much trust in her necessarily because I didn't really have any reason to or any reason not to. So I never really, I guess, got the answer for that.
Well, when you were voted out, you had obviously a lot of time to ruminate on it. At the edge, were you able to work out that the people that had voted for you were Tyrone, Oscar, and Tilly, or did you couldn't work it out?
No, I had no idea because especially being out there with so many extroverts for a time, I didn't really have anyone to ask questions or figure out what happened. It was literally just me thinking, well, I don't know, there's all these people. I don't know who voted which way. It could have really been anyone because I was hardly there. I didn't really spend much time kind of going over it. I just kind of went, oh, well, that's it. That's what happens when you paint a massive target on your back from the very first challenge. Like, that was dumb. So I feel like I kind of
Did
got
you
what I
have to
deserved
spend
there.
all your time at the edge listening to the extroverts talk about their vote outs? Was it all the extroverts talking about how sad they were and how they didn't deserve it and what they would have done differently, and you just spent a lot of time listening?
Yeah, I feel like I did gather a lot of intel, and I think I spent a lot of time. I think Nat was quite angry at the start, and it was just me and a very angry Nat on the edge for quite a while. And, you know, kind of, it was so hot up there. It was disgustingly hot. And we're just, you know, she's furious. We're both scurrying around looking for anything useful. And it was just, you know, tried to harvest as much information as I could, but also she didn't trust me at all. I didn't trust her at all. So it's a bit of an awkward situation to be with when it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
I've just realized the full story that you went into there, and sorry for not appreciating it fully. So you arrived late, and for those that are watching this right now or watching it, the replay, we've talked about this before on Sydney Survivor. Sydney Survivor always has this little meet and greet breakfast thing, and you want to get there like as soon as, like, whatever they say the start time is, be there like 10 minutes before and be first at the breakfast, not last. Danny talks about how she almost got voted out because she was last at the breakfast. That's why her name was an option in season 1, because people haven't bonded with you as much. There's a lot of time to bond at the breakfast if you're first there, not last there. But then you won the challenge and had to do the other thing with Shane. So they were back at camp all bonding some more, and you weren't there. So you really didn't spend much time with them at all. I'm now appreciating that. That's very hard.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I basically walked into the welcome area, and then we had to go. It was like, come in, say like a couple of words, and then off you go. Like, no time whatsoever. So from that, and then to being, you know, hanging around after the challenge, it was just back to back to back, just being in like the shit situation, unfortunately. But
do you regret winning that challenge then? Would you have rather not won it?
Well, I wasn't intending to win it. I thought we were fully gonna, you know, they say, okay, introverts win, let's reset, and then introverts would go compete against yourselves. I didn't realize that it was just going to continue on. And before I knew it, I was like, oh shit, what have I done? This is, you know, you just don't do that. But it was so quick. And yeah, that was really, you know, Survivor 101. Don't do that.
Let's talk about, you did get the split idol with Shane, and you know that became a bit of a story point for the whole season. The first point I'd like to ask, and then I think we'll move to the merge part of your game. But you and Shane tried to get on the same page about how you would use this information or this idol, and it didn't seem like from the show that you got on the same page. You immediately went and told people about it.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a miscommunication there. I think I kind of got a bit bombarded when I came back to camp, and I was like, oh, you know, there's so many questions, there's so many unknowns around me, given that I've spent so little time at camp. And it was very hard to kind of go, all right, who are going to be my couple of people that I trust? Because I think that's what I thought the plan was. We pick, you know, our close 2 or 3 people and bring them in. But to come back to a group of people who I have barely talked to, and I have to basically connect with every single one of these people in such a short period of time, I just didn't have the chance to follow through with the plan. I was like, I can't just walk in and say, you two come with me. Let me tell you all my secrets. So I think it was just kind of a, accumulation of unfortunate stuff.
And then how pissed off were you at production when they told you that it was done?
Oh, God. What a
way to wreck someone's game. Shane's still there. And it's like, nah, it's out.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like, you know, they run the show. That's how it is. You can't really do anything about it. So
very polite of you. Very nice.
Very introverted.
Loz, you go.
Yeah, so I am interested in once we hit merge, you come back into the game. What was your plan? What was your strategy? Talk me through it.
I think my strategy was very much just survive. I knew that, okay, I didn't really have any strong connections on the introverts tribe. I thought that coming into the game, I sort of already knew Deo, like I'd met him once or twice before, I think, and he was gone. Only person I knew on the other tribe was Mac from a previous game. So I thought, well, that's one person I know. The rest of the introverts basically voted me out. So it's a matter of just doing whatever I can to survive. And I think at that point, I kind of decided I just need to win every single challenge as far as I can, because that's really, the only way that I'm going to keep getting through, because I haven't spent time with any of these people. So this is sort of hang on as long as I can until I have time to make some sort of connection, and then just hopefully, someone can fit me into their end game, because I didn't plan on coming in and turning everything around. And, I'm an introvert. I'm not a very strong personality that's going to come through and control the game. So I had to find a way to fit in somewhere. So that was my plan, was just see what it was like and then try and go along with it.
And so that worked for a few votes. Mm-hmm. So why did it turn then? Because you weren't a target really. And you slid in, you seemed to fit quite nicely into the mix. Where did it change? How did you become a target?
I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest, but I think maybe it was sort of, I maybe isolated myself a bit from the original introverts, and I was sort of leaning a bit towards maybe Shane and Mac. I thought, okay, they've got a few things in their pockets. They've got some tricks to play. And I kind of have a pretty, out of everyone, they're the people I probably trusted, in terms of having a working relationship. I thought this is beneficial to all of us. This is probably my safest way forward. And I think lumping myself in with them a little bit when they've got all these great big shields and things that they're pulling out of their bags and I've got nothing, I'm sort of the easy person to pick off, which, put me in a vulnerable spot, but also better than not having any sort of alliance, I guess. I thought, it's better than nothing. So I think it kind of went downhill from there a bit.
Who did you see as being the alliances? Who, from the outside, it's really hard for us to see because there's been so much chaos in the voting. But from when you walked in and you looked at where the lines were drawn, who was working with who?
Oh, this is a good question. I think there was a lot of people that I didn't really see as being tied super closely together. I think there was sort of a bit of an introverts group going on, but then you also had some people that were playing a little bit more boldly and not necessarily following along with, there wasn't a clear leader. I didn't seem to see that within the introverts subgroup. And then I think obviously Mac and Shane had sort of, stuck together at that point. I'm just trying to think. I don't want to miss anyone. Who was actually in the tribe at that point?
We've always seen Tilly as the leader and Chris as sort of her right-hand man. That's been our perception as watching the game. Do you think that, was there anything like that feel when you got there or not really? Do you see it now maybe in the video afterwards?
And Beck and Tim being quite strong together.
They were quite close together. I do think that was a pretty tight pair. I don't know, Tilly was a bit of an unknown to me. I was I'm not sure if who she's really close to. I was getting a lot of mixed messages. Some of the votes that she put out that didn't need to be put out, I was a bit confused by that. And I think, I was a bit unsure where she really fitted in. So I kind of just went, look, I know at least there's some solid pairs, and there's some solid pairs that probably played a part in voting me out, and there's some that didn't. So I might as well go that way.
But was there discussion about that when you said you couldn't get that information in the edge? when you got back in the game, were people coming and telling you who voted for you, who didn't vote for you? Were people owning it, trying to throw it on someone else? Or did everyone just go, that was yesterday and we don't care?
Yeah, I think it was more so like that. They sort of just said, look, it's the first day. You went out and won the first challenge, and no one else, I guess, did anything really remarkable or we didn't really have any major sources of friction in our tribe, I didn't feel. So, there's no obvious boot there. There's no one that's physically a lot weaker. There's no one that's super annoying or super rude. It was kind of just a, who can we think of? And I just kind of took that in stride and said, it's the first boot and no one really knew what to do. So it didn't really matter, to be honest.
Did Chris tell you that he voted for you though, but didn't mean to? Because I think you said that in one of your confessionals, that Chris apparently didn't mean to vote for me or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly at what point. I feel like I've talked about it with him since, and I think it was literally the only difference between him voting for me, or I think it was between me and Morgan. Was that I just hadn't had a chance to talk to Chris, and he was like, "Well, I don't know anything about her. See you later." So I think
that's first votes are a lot like that. It's as long as it's not me, any reason will do.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to talk to Chris about this, because Chris has always been telling us in the show narrative that he mistakenly voted for you. But I've always wondered if that's just what he's been telling Tilly. It'll be interesting to see when we get Chris on if that's the case. So you did feel that you weren't getting the love necessarily from the introverts, but you still probably kept the extroverts, at arm's length for the first vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then seemed to move towards them. Was it just because then they started like they were getting some momentum, or you would have always wanted to be with them, but the numbers were just so bad, or you thought Isabella going first was a good position because then you could work in with them? What was the thinking about how you sort of gradually moved towards them over a couple of votes as opposed to just jumping in?
I think there's probably a couple of factors. I think I felt a bit like the introverts. We had all these little subgroups of people doing a lot of different things and not really being cohesive. Like I said, there wasn't really a clear leader. It was a lot of sort of pairs trying to scramble something together. And I think I didn't like that. That didn't feel like a secure sort of plan. I don't want to talk to 3 different people and get 3 different answers. And I think I'm still not 100% sure, but maybe a tiny little bit of like the introverts voted me out in the beginning, and I don't know who did it exactly. Yeah. So I don't really have any full trust in them. And I have trust in Shane because we had this half idol thing. So, and if Shane trusts Mac and I kind of trust Mac, we like from a working relationship, it benefits all of us. I think that was just the decision that I came to. I'd rather go down and, chuck a couple of bombs into the introverts on my way out rather than just get, flicked off for not trying to do anything.
I love it. I love it. That makes me so happy to hear.
The funny thing is,
I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, they voted you out for reasons really that were very sketchy. But you played it down. Like I think you still came across as being quite pro-introvert when quietly behind the scenes you were working other relationships. And I thought you did a really, really good job of it. And I was surprised when the tide kind of turned and all of a sudden your name was coming up, because I thought you'd done a good job of sitting in the middle between them.
The funny thing was the people that voted with you were Tilly, Tyrone and Oscar, and they're all still there. But no one seemed to really want to use this as like a leverage opportunity. To be like, I was with you. Like, I just couldn't go to Rocks, like that. You would have accepted that. Like, I voted for Morgan twice. I just couldn't go to Rocks, like.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, it was just so early days. I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's the first vote, no hard feelings, but also it makes me feel a little bit less bad about, not super backstabbing people, but, it made it a lot easier to sort of diversify and look at, other options.
Absolutely. Nick, let's talk about this vote. Did you feel you were going to be in some trouble when you found out about the twist?
Yes, I knew I was in so much trouble. Look, we all crunched the numbers. The numbers were not good at all. And I think I kind of knew that my time was up. You kind of get a bit of a sense when especially when a twist gets thrown your way. If it was a normal tribal, I'd still be a bit nervous, I guess. But knowing that there's a twist and that there's not a super clear division in the tribe, or the numbers were not clearly in my favor, was there's no way you can feel confident going into something like that with such a big twist.
It was so close though to being in your favor. It really was. Like it was Shane nullifying Tilly's vote instead of Oscar. That was the difference. Truly. Like it was that close.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that we could have done differently in that tribal. Like I just rewatched it earlier today, just that tribal, and I felt like I was making the biggest deal about my half idol, and this is going to scare the crap out of everyone. Like, watch out, they're going to change votes. And it was literally the most underwhelming thing I've ever seen. I was like, that was so not.
Yeah, it didn't really.
At the time, it felt really like dramatic. I was like, yeah. And I think I was talking to maybe Tilly afterwards, and she's like, I didn't know what you were doing. It was just like a little bag or something. What was going on?
Yeah.
It just didn't land how it felt like it landed. So yeah, I think that was
Max
a big miss.
That without this twist, that the four of you would win the day.
Yeah.
Joe, Shane, Tyrone, and Mac, with the vote block, of course.
Mm.
Yeah, you take the numbers there.
Yeah.
And how did you feel? Like, everyone's loading up on Mac. You want to work with Mac, but Mac going, that's one person going, now you just got to be not number 2 on the votes. Mac's crew probably aren't going to vote for you. Maybe they're going to vote for Tilly. So maybe that's a Mac Tilly situation. So maybe you skate through in that situation. And then you're talking with Mac. He's like, oh yeah, I've got an idol. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, did that like go, now I'm really cooked?
Yeah, I think at that point I was, I don't think deep down I knew that Mac would have played the idol for himself. And I don't think I could have asked him to play it for me without knowing 100% for certain. Like, if Mac played it for himself, even if he didn't, if he needed to play it, I think he would have a much higher chance of making it to the end than I would. So I thought, it makes sense to, let him play it. He found it. So I really don't really have much of a claim to it if he was also on the chopping block a little bit.
The thing I want to say, sort of as a final word to you, I said I was ruminating before we came on about how a lot of people go to the edge, and come back because a lot of seasons have that mechanic, and some have gone further than you, and some have not gone further than you. But on the whole, a lot of them tend to just go back to where they came from. They go back to the group of people that they knew that voted them out, but that they knew, and that's probably rarely a smart move, whether it means you get voted out early because they just turn around and revolving door you, or because you get to the end and they don't really respect you for getting voted out and then sticking with those people. I think that's happened to some people in these games. I like the way that you came in with a plan. You applied it subtly because the numbers were not in such a way that you could just jump ship right away. You kept building that. Like, you could see Mac and Shane's confessionals. We might have Joe with us. We might not. The numbers aren't good. But, she's open. Like you've made it clear to them that you're available when the time is right. And then when the time was right, you were able to work in with them. And it worked out for them and not for you, sadly. But, I think it was the right strategy to reintegrate your way into the game. And it's the way that was effective. But also, if you were at the end, is a story that you can tell that's compelling and might get votes. You didn't just jump back in with the people that dogged you and ended up at the end with them. Like, no one, I think, values that story, whether that story is valuable or not. I just don't think it's valued by juries. So I really think that you played the edge the best way possible. And I also think, I haven't done the numbers, but I'm just going back on my memory. You probably had the toughest Edge experience of any season that's had Edge style mechanics. The heat, the emotional toll. Nat was angry dealing with those sorts of situations. The medevac, the challenges, and I'd say the quality of the players physically that you had to beat to get back in. I'm sure Ian was one in his youth, a very fit young man. But putting him aside, everyone else there was very fit, very very fit, physically capable people that you defeated. Like the women that you defeated in the end, Maddie and Morgan, they're no slouches. Nat's a very fit older woman. Deo looked very fit and physical. You had a hard day in the heat, and then came back to a really
it was a horrible day.
And I think, and all the flies. Oh my god, that was brutal. I think it's incredible, an incredible story, and you should be. I'm sure you are, but you should be very proud of yourself. I think it's a great story of resilience.
Thank you. I think that's what I was going for. Like once I got to the edge, I thought, well, really, the only way I can actually go anywhere at all is I have to basically crush it all the way to the end. Otherwise, it's that's my only sort of winning storyline here. That if it's one thing to make it to the end, but to have a winning storyline, I need to come in and basically fight through everything until I've sort of earned my spot back in the game, not just to be part of the tribe, but I've earned my spot to actually have a story and have, earn a right to be there. Because even though it was hard on the edge, no one else really saw that at the time. So they're like, oh, she's just hanging out with Nat, the flies. So I think that was something that I definitely kept in my mind, was that I have to actually really fight really hard. Otherwise I've just sat up there for nothing. So
do you have any final words for us, or for the audience, or for your adoring fandom?
Oh no, I just loved everyone that I played with. It was lots of fun, and even though it was really sad getting voted out, it was really nice to just actually spend time outside of the game and get to know all these people and talk things out. There's some emotional vote outs and things like that, so it was really good to sort of, some of the people that found it really hard to come out of the game, it was nice to be able to sort of talk them through it and all bond. It was really cute.
So the edge wasn't all bad. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on and for being part of Sydney Season 2. You were fantastic.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so firstly, let me just throw up this little
Brommy nom, who gets the Brommy nom?
Destroying the environment one podcast at a time. We now need to determine who is the Brommy nom for this episode. Do you have a nomination, Loz?
Look, there wasn't a lot of real Orca energy this episode. I didn't think. I think, Mac gave us his standard Mac energy, which is Orca energy regardless.
Went to a new level, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it has to be Mac only because I just didn't see anything from anyone else. Shane is playing such a subtle game. There's nothing Orca in it, even though he's controlling things so dominantly. There's no Orca in it, and the introverts are just not giving me anything. So it has to be Mac.
It does have to be Mac, but I stand by that Tyrone should have got it in the one episode before the pre-merge. I'm annoyed that he didn't get it, and I will be giving him a body of work Orca at some point. It could be next week if that's when he gets booted. Whenever he gets booted, if I haven't given him this body of work Orca, he's getting it. But on this episode, maybe I could just give it to Tyrone in this episode. He did hack the challenge and then sort of jab Mac with I hacked it.
That was not Orca enough. That was too subtle. You got to do better than that, Tyrone. Start bringing it.
Yeah, he brought it when he was talking shit about Tim not being able to swim and that crap, and we didn't give it to him.
Oh no, that was low key. Like that's not Tyrone at 100 miles an hour.
Well, as I said, he's going to get
You
one. And
don't just got the Brommy for just being mid range. You have to be out there and obnoxious and narcissistic and like it's we don't just give it out to anybody.
Tyrone is all these things, and I know.
Yeah, but we're
that
not seeing it. I know he is too, but we're not seeing it. You have to show us. I can't just vote for you because I know it.
I just want to give him one. We'll consider that next week, but I think this one does have to go, Mac. His confessionals went. He's like, if only they filmed the fight he had with Byron, presumably about the phantom votes.
Oh, that probably would have been enough for me, but we didn't see it. So if I don't see it, I can't vote for you.
But we'll give it to Mac. That's noted. What do you think is going to happen next week, Loz? Who do you think is going? Who's not making the finale?
I still think that the introverts that are left are looking for an easy target. And I think Mac is still that easy target. I just don't see the future planning, the end game planning that I was hoping to see this episode. So Beck will be happy as long as it's not her, given that she had a target on her this vote. Tyrone will be happy if it's not him, given he had the target last vote and was probably going to be a target this vote. Chris, I don't know that the game he's playing is as dominant as we'd like to think that it is. And I can't see that if it came down to the wire, if it came down to taking Mac out or being left out of a vote, that Shane would not take Mac out. So I feel like next episode could be Mac's demise finally. And then the finale, I can see a finale with Oscar, potentially Oscar, Shane, and maybe Chris.
Oscar's definitely going to the end. As we saw in the next time on, Max says, I'm going to drag this guy kicking and screaming to the final three. I
think you're not alone, Mac. I think everyone left in the game is going to do just that.
Really likes it or not. So I can't see Oscar.
And if you're smart, you'll take Chris as well. I think that's the perfect.
I can't see Chris being the target. So I think it has to be Shane, Mac, Tyrone, or Beck. I think that it would be dangerous for Chris and Oscar to vote out Beck. I know that Beck is a threat to win, but they need her at the final five. They don't want the group of Tyrone, Shane, and Mac.
Absolutely not. And they love the shiny thing. And every vote, whatever the shiny thing is if they can, the introverts go for it. And it's still Mac. So and then after Mac, then I think it's Tyrone, and then I can see a final four of Beck, Shane, Oscar, and Chris.
I actually think they really should do. I think it could. I agree with your ordering then, Mac, Tyrone, Shane, but I think it's a mistake, and I think Shane.
Agreed.
I'm not sure if it's Mac or Shane. Like Shane's going to win. I think Mac could probably win as well. I think Shane's harder to beat because I think people will want him to win more. I think if some of those introverts vote for Mac, they'll be doing it a bit begrudgingly, but they would do it because he's been so big and strong the whole game. Though he's obviously very likable. Chris talks about how likable he is.
For sure. But I can see them taking Shane because they underestimate his game, whereas they all fully are convinced that Mac is playing this crazy great game. And I can see Shane sliding into the end because they underestimate, because they've been so focused on everything else around them and all the other shiny things, when in reality, Shane's playing this phenomenal social game. So I think Mac will still be the big threat. I can't see them not taking Tyrone out next because he will be the minority at that point. And a final four of Shane, Oscar, Chris, and Beck, it'll all depend on who wins the challenge, really.
Yeah.
I think if
Sadly-
Beck or Shane go to the end with the other two, I think they've got the game in the bag.
Yeah.
If Beck and Shane go together with one of the others, I think we've got a fight on our hands.
I think it'll be a very good fight. I think Beck can undercut Shane in a way that no one else can. I think
Agreed.
she can say, he's going to
Yep.
say, I saved her. And she's going to be like, no, you didn't, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Like, you know, just do this.
There were idols, advantages. I think that would be a fantastic showdown. And I'd love to see Shane back and maybe Chris. That would be, for me, probably I'd love to see that showdown. Whether we get that, I don't know. But my voting order next is Mac, Tyrone, and then hard to say at that final four.
I'm going to be really sad if Mac wins immunity and they do take out Tyrone 1 episode short of the drinks. I might do something else, maybe.
Don't start promising things like that, because suddenly it all loses its meaning.
Okay.
And everything we stand for no longer has any, all of our lore and all of the things that make us authors is no longer meaningful, and no one will take us seriously.
Fair. Okay, I won't do shit. I just really hope that Tyrone can get through this episode.
If Mac wins immunity next challenge, I think Tyrone's cooked.
It's a mistake. They should be taking out Shane. It's a mistake.
But they won't, for all the reasons we talked about.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to see what happens. The next episode drops in 2 days, and then we'll be back next Monday covering the episode.
Oh, you didn't get my episode title.
What was it called, and what should have been called, Loz?
So it was called I Am Survivor. And I don't even know where that came from. I did watch this in a hurry.
I think Max said it.
I didn't have time to go back and watch it again. But the title that I want to give it actually came from Mac as well. And it was Some People Are Targets, Some People Aren't Targets. And I love the ambiguity of it. I thought it captured the episode. Because everyone had an idea in their mind of who was a target and who wasn't a target, and everybody's idea was different. Some people are targets, some people aren't targets.
I like it. I'm Survivor's a bit whatever. But it's punchy. It is punchy. I'll give it that. So we will be back next week talking about the penultimate episode. Thank you to everyone that was here live talking in the chat. Thank you to Joe for joining us. Thank you, Loz, for joining us with all your fantastic takes. Thank you to everyone. He was saying that was a shot at Oscar not being a target. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, I know it was, but I thought it summed it up, because not a single person sitting there at Tribal Council had the same idea in their mind of who was a target and who wasn't. I thought it was apt.
It was apt. Thank you to everyone that joined us in the chat. We love you the most. Thank you to everyone that listens after. We love you like less. Be here live, comment. We'd love you more. And we get to say your names, and there's nothing more pleasurable than hearing us say your names and your takes. Trust us and come and enjoy that experience. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with more of you to enjoy that experience. Until then, we will dance. Trying to get the cat in for the dancing.
I am trying to get the cat in for the dancing. Come on, Becky.
Sorry, cat.